It's Dave Carell here from New Balance Canada, and we're partnered here for the virtual speaker series for the Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon and Canada Running Series virtual race weekend, partnered with Running Room and also iRun magazines. So this is an added installment to the virtual speaker series, and the topic for today is meeting Team New Balance Canada marathoners. We're going to get to know Rachel and Chris a bit better today. So I'm here in Mississauga at the New Balance Canada office. I know Chris is visiting us here virtually from London, and Rach is in Guelph, Ontario. And just a little bit of introduction. I know many of you probably are familiar with these athletes from the Canada Running Series events over recent years, but to get a little bit to know about them, here are the stats at least. And this by all means is not everything that I could mention, but Rachel Hanna joining us is a 5-time Canadian senior champion from 10,000 meters to cross country, an 8-time national team member in cross country and road racing. She was the bronze medalist in the marathon at the Toronto 2015 Pan Am Games on much of the same course as the Toronto Waterfront Marathon, and is currently a registered dietitian at the University of Guelph and at DeLonghi Chiropractic based in Kitchener-Waterloo. Her personal bests are 2:32 for the marathon, 1:12:25 for the half marathon, and 32:36 for 10K. Also joining us from Team New Balance is Chris Balestrini. Chris Balestrini is a dual, if not multiple, talent, showing endurance in both the classroom and also on the roads and track. Chris is a double major in medicine and a PhD student at Western University. He's got some epic Strava figures. If you follow him, check out Chris Balestrini on Strava. He was mentioning just before we started this call, 8,000 kilometers recorded in training in 2019. But an up-and-coming distance talent, his talent ranges from short distance on the track, but also we were chatting about long distance trail events, including his longest run of 55 kilometers, if not more. And Chris's personal bests are 2:17 in the marathon, which we're going to ask him more about that today, 1:05 in the half marathon, and 29:22 in the 10K. So to kick it off, it's virtual race weekend. It would normally be the Toronto Waterfront Marathon weekend, but we know participants are doing their virtual race anytime this month of October. I wanted to ask you, let's start with you, Rachel. What does the Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon mean to you and some of your best memories?
Yeah, it reminds me, well, of sense of community, and especially now during COVID when we can't see all the people that we'd love to see. It just reminds me of all being together and running and us all doing our best on the day. And it also represents to me a full summer of training, and then the best, one of my favorite months of the year, October, because you do all this hot weather training and then it luckily usually is a cool day for race weekend, and then you just feel really amazing when you finally get to put it all together and all the hard work you've done. So I really miss that energy, and it's really great to be here talking about it and remembering some of the fond memories of all the years competing in it.
Yeah, and you've run on that course both for the Pan Am Games, some of it on the Lakeshore, and also for STWM. But I know thinking back to the crowd support, it's always incredible.
It is, yeah. The city all comes together, and it's just amazing how everybody's supporting everyone, no matter what their ability and what their finish time is. It's incredible.
Yeah, and Chris, we saw you race the marathon distance in 2019. It was a pretty epic race, as people at that time were all chasing qualifying positions and rankings and times for the Olympic Games, which here we are in October of 2020 now. But what memories do you have from the Toronto race course and the event?
Yeah, I think to echo what Rachel said, just the sense of community, but I think there are so many people like lining the course that there really wasn't any dull spots. You know, like sometimes in those marathons, there can be stretches of road where you're not seeing anyone, but at Toronto, the course is packed. It's energetic. And I think one of the big things is that it brings everyone together. There's so many events, the 5K, the 10K, the half, the full, and that kind of, it brings together the whole running community, no matter which distance you prefer.
Yeah, and for both of you, do you have any specific parts of the course that are kind of your favorite, or something happened there? Because I know this month, people are doing their virtual race. If they live in Toronto, perhaps they'll actually follow the course verbatim.
Yeah.
Maybe Rach, do you have some spots in the course you like?
Yeah, I think one of my favorites is coming down, like when you're going near the Gardiner and you're coming under the bridge, and there's a whole bunch of cheering squads in there, and it's so loud because of you're underneath the Gardiner. So that's really amazing. And plus you feel really good because you're maybe at like 19K still, so you're still smiling and like waving to people. So that's before the pain really sets in. So that's one of my favorite spots on the course. And then seeing the finish line, like once you actually turn the corner, because you know you're almost there. Those are my two favorite spots.
Yeah, this year with the Toronto clock tower being on the medal, that's kind of a sign if you're coming up Bay Street, you know you're getting close. And Chris, do you have any favorite spots on the course?
Yeah, I think my favorite spot on the course is, I think it's right around 32K, but it's when you're in the beaches area. And just the crowd support there is unbelievable. And I think that's a really like tough part of the course. So just to have that extra cheering and just running down the road there, and it just being lined with people really kind of motivates you. And I don't really remember seeing the clock tower. I think at 42K, my eyes glazed over. But I'm sure if I saw it, that would be it was a welcoming sight at the finish.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's an incredible experience when everyone is out on race day. But today we're virtually together and connected through social media, really. But a bit about the Canada Running Series in general, because we know that the team at CRS is so supportive of Canadian elites. And I guess, Rach, we'll start with you. That how important has the CRS been for Canadian elites on giving you opportunities for elite competition and travel support?
It's been extremely important. I think like really the backbone behind why I'm road racing now. If I think about all the opportunities that I've had to race, pretty much if I think about when I started to get competitive again, starting in about 2013, most of the races that I would do within a year would be Canada Running Series races, because they're always really well organized. I always want to support them. They always fit well within the season, and they give us so much support that you want to give back and do all the events you can, and plus like you get to see all the same people, and again back to that sense of community that I miss. It's incredible. So yeah, no, like Alan Brooks and the whole team at Canada Running Series has been so supportive, and I really think that they have helped people elevate and make them faster because they've given them opportunities to race. And we know that consistency is key with getting better at distance running, and I think they've seen a lot of athletes set personal bests and qualify for, like if we use the example of even the Olympics with some like major athletes at the races, that's just a sign of how much work they've done, how great it's been.
Yeah, and Chris, I know we've seen you compete in the CRS from Edmonton and Toronto and probably other places too, but balancing school and athletics, how does CRS races fit into your schedule?
Well, when I'm planning my schedule, at least for the last couple of years at I don't know, I basically pull up the schedule of CRS and then slot it into whichever weekends that I can, and then plan my kind of life and other things around those races. They're just, it's nice to know that going into a race, you're going to have support from the administration, from the race itself, but also just have a complete like immersive experience at the race. And it really, when you go into the race and when you leave, you're going in with high expectations because you've been there before, and there are so many like positive experiences. But when you leave, you have even higher expectations for the next time, because what you actually see is always surpassed by the expectations you set. So I think I really plan to target the CRS races. I know, like, I'm a sucker for racing, and whenever I can get out to one of them, whenever it works in the schedule, I know that they support the elites so well, and they put on such a great event that it's something that you can't miss.
Well, we enjoy watching you race frequently, and we enjoy cheering for you and seeing you out there. And certainly the CRS team is bringing world-class events to a variety of Canadian cities. Now, of course, a year ago this weekend, certainly our thoughts on what 2020 would be and how people were striving for things are very different than they are now a year later. And in Canada, certainly through March in early of 2020, a lot of things changed and everyone was affected. Thankfully, running has been an activity, running and walking outside, that was not canceled and that we can do. And in challenging times, maybe we'll start with you, Chris. How has running and being active helped you during a year that is unprecedented, really?
It's been everything just to have that consistency in the schedule. Just knowing that that's something that you've I've run for X amount of years, and just even when the world is changing and changed so dramatically, it's nice to have running there as the rock kind of thing, in my life at least. Just knowing that you can escape whatever's going on in your mind, or just getting out into the outdoors and into nature. And there are very few barriers to running. You put on a pair of shoes, and you lace them up and you step out the door, and you just have that. And there's so many positive benefits, from psychological things to physiological. And I think just having something consistent in life and it being a real positive experience was crucial for getting through the ongoing pandemic.
Yeah, I guess we're asking the right person on the physiological effects of exercise to ask a soon-to-be medical doctor. But and Rach, running, and we know that if any of you follow Rachel on Strava, that you've seen quite a bit of cycling as well. How has physical activity played a role in helping you deal with this year and all the changes? And every week is a new change, really.
Yeah, I think part of what Chris said about just that consistency, like knowing you can put your shoes on and go out the door, and it just gives you time away and a break. And oftentimes you come back and you're more productive as a result. So I just, I would never stop doing it unless I'm injured, which, to your point about cycling, like when I couldn't run because I got injured this summer, I took up cycling, and just even being outside, like, wasn't the same as running, but it gave me the same benefits of just being able to see more places and be outside. And then every time I actually went for a bike ride, or when I was able to run again, I always thought about how lucky I was to be outside, because there's certain places right now where people can't, and especially at the start of the quarantine where they had to stay inside or they could only be within a kilometer radius. So just the fact that I was still able to do that, I really wanted to take advantage of it, and just feel really grateful for the opportunity to move outside, because like we had joked about that, like if that was taken away, that would be very hard to like cope with everything, I'm sure, for a lot of people. So
yeah,
really
we were very fortunate in Canada that we could travel a radius away from our homes. And Rach, you mentioned recovering from an injury. Any tips for our viewers on dealing with injuries? I know it's quite a big topic, but as they are training virtually, any quick tips on how to manage injuries in a time where maybe we don't have access to all the healthcare we might normally have?
Yeah, I think at the start of COVID, that was probably the hardest, just because we couldn't see our normal treatment team. Now that things are a little bit more back to normal, it's a bit easier. But I think by, like, at least the approach that I took was just not doing as many workouts, that I am coming back from injury, but reducing kind of training volume, maybe to about 75 or 80% of normal. That can help to just reduce the injury risk. So just keeping fit, but not being at peak sort of competition that phase. And also, like, I didn't have a race that I was sort of training for, so that was easier to do. But I think that's one thing. And then listening to your body. So if something does start to hurt, try to shut it down and do some cross training or take some days off, and maybe be more sensitive to that than you normally would throughout the year. And then if you can find any cross training, just to still get outside, or still like the example of cycling, or if pools are open, swimming. So anything that you can combine. If you're worried about how much mileage and load on your body, I think that's really important. And now's a really good time to challenge yourself with like different activities too that can keep you healthy, for sure.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year. It's been a pause almost, and refreshing for many people to kind of refine the meaning for why they run. Now, Chris, on the other side, you've been healthy this year, and very recently had a pretty interesting organized road race event. And I think from when the quarantine started in March to your race a few weeks ago, that it was maybe one of the first organized races in Canada. I know there were a few out there in the last month or so, but could you just tell us about this interesting event that went down a couple weeks ago, and it actually resulted in a new personal best for you?
Yeah. So the fastest fun marathon was in Waterloo, Ontario. It was on a 1.7K loop in a subdivision in Waterloo. So we ran almost 25 full laps. And it, honestly, just having a target on the calendar made a huge difference in motivation towards training. And I think that can be applied to everyone, if it's a virtual race or if it's an in-person race. And I was like very fortunate to be part of an in-person race. So there were 10 finishers in this race. So it was a socially acceptable event. But yeah, it's so even though I think I got a call around 8 weeks before the marathon, and asked if I wanted to be a part of it, and I jumped on the opportunity and started kicking into kind of marathon training mode then, which it was a pretty short build up, but it really paid off. It was a 2.5 minute personal best. 2:17:05.
And you might mention too that the conditions were perhaps not quite ideal that day.
Yeah. The forecast was, luckily there wasn't much wind, so that was great. But there was a cold rain pretty much the entire time, and so it was around 3 or 4 degrees, kind of for the race. And the rain it waned a little bit, but there were parts where it was fairly steady, and parts where it was kind of it was a lighter rain, but it was still kind of raining the whole time. And I felt for the people who were out supporting and cheering a little bit more. At least the athletes and I were generating some body heat. But it wasn't ideal, but it was fun just to race.
Yeah, we can definitely draw on that for inspiration, because as people are doing their virtual races all over the world for the Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon, that maybe they're doing them on a 1.7K loop around their neighborhood, or maybe they're doing it on the race course, or maybe they're doing it on the Great Wall of China. We don't know. It might be anywhere. A few quick questions here on some training tips for our viewers, and we'll bounce a few quick questions off each of you. So first, Rachel, what's your favorite long run workout, I guess? Time or pace? What's your favorite long run?
Favorite long run? Yeah, when I'm really fit and like what Chris was saying, in a marathon build, one where, well, it kind of varies the tempo, but we're always doing kind of a moderate pace to start, and then tempo would vary anywhere from maybe like 45 minutes up to probably the longest I've done is like 80 or 85 minutes of marathon type effort. So maybe somewhere in the middle. I'll pick an hour just because that's more reasonable. So maybe an hour of tempo, and then usually like over 30K. I really like to do long runs when I'm fit, and just feels good afterwards. And you feel ready for the race because you've done a significant amount at your marathon pace. So that's probably one of my favorite type of long run workouts.
Okay. Now, Chris, on the other side, what is your favorite shorter workout?
My favorite shorter workout is I'll actually it's 1 minute on, 1 minute off, and you do that for X amount of minutes. So one of the ones I did in this build for the marathon was, I think I did a 5K warm up, and then I did 80 or 90 minutes of 1 minute on, 1 minute off. And the minutes on were right around 10K road effort. So pretty fast, pretty hard. And then the 1 minutes off were as slow as you needed to be to maintain that 10K speed. So it ends up being, for me, it ended up being right around, I don't know, a 350 meter repeat. So either that or just a classic, the 20 by 400 on the track. Those are my favorite shorter workouts.
Okay, I guess we'll scale that to all our viewers. Yeah. But that's impressive. Now, and Reach, preference, trails or road running?
I'm gonna go with road running because I'm really clumsy on trails and I tend to fall into things. So I'm gonna go with road running.
Got it. All right. Now, Chris, strength training, yes or no?
Functional.
All right. All right, we'll keep it there. Functional. A little bit about footwear, being that we're here with New Balance and also partnered with Running Room. That Chris, you wore quite a new shoe that is now in the market during your recent marathon personal best. Which shoe was that, and what do you like about it?
Yeah, so it was the New Balance Fuel Cell RC Elite, and it's an awesome shoe. It's nice and cushioned. But it's also very responsive. The carbon plate in there. So I really noticed it in the later stages of the marathon. Sometimes, I don't know, before I ran, my feet would bother me and things like that in the late stages, but there's just so much cushioning. And sometimes when you think of cushioning, you think of, oh, it's absorbing some energy, but you get it all back in that shoe. And it's so light and so responsive that I think it really helps you set a personal best like it did in my case.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty new and people are just kind of finding it. And Rach, what is your go-to training shoes these days?
Yeah, go-to training, the 860 is one that I've used probably my whole running career. So I do run in that one a few times a week. And then more recently, just because I've been coming back from injury, I've been using the Fresh Foam Moors. So those have also been good, just for a bit more cushioning. So yeah, those two shoes I'm rotating between mostly right now. Mm-hmm.
Got it. One more fun question. And if you were to pick your song that you would recommend for that run up Bay Street, like finish line, wherever you are, finishing your virtual race, whatever distance it is from 5K to the marathon, Rachel's going to check her playlist. That, what song would be top of mind right now? We'll start with you, Chris.
For me, it's got to be classic, and it's The Final Countdown by Europa.
Got it.
Final Countdown.
Right.
It's a good one.
Everyone add that to your playlist. And Rach, what would be your pump up song for crossing the line?
I'm going to go with, I'm actually looking at my running playlist right now because I have a really bad memory. I'm going to go either with, I'm going to give you two. Heavy Hearted by the Jungle Giants.
Okay.
Or Red Hearse by Red Hearse.
Got it.
One of those two. Yeah.
So everyone check that out on your Spotify playlist. We'll close by asking each of you if you can share some words of advice as people have been training hard on their own, mostly all through the summer to complete their virtual race this month. And we're so thankful that the CRS and STWM race crew and team can be putting on this event, even if it's virtual. It motivates us, it gets us to our physical activity goals. But any final words of advice? Maybe we'll start with you, Chris.
Yeah, I think the best advice that I have is kind of my mantra that I say when I'm running and when things get tough. And it's just nice and short, but I just kind of keep saying it in my head, and it's quick and relaxed. And it's just when you're running, when you're going through a hard spot, just kind of think, okay, just be quick and relaxed, quick and relaxed. Don't try to stress about it too much. Just get into the rhythm and be quick and relaxed.
Well said. And Rachel, any words of advice for everyone as they strive for many, might be the furthest distance that they've ever gone, but in this case, this year, it's virtual.
Yeah, I think just like it's fantastic for anybody who's supporting the races because, like you said, it gets us out the door, it gives us a hard effort, and then once we get back into racing, it won't be as difficult if we're doing these hard efforts. So think about it as like a really good workout. And also just keep in mind, I'm probably gonna go back to just being really grateful that we're able to do it. If you're healthy, if your body doesn't hurt. Now when I feel like I'm tired in workouts, I just think I'm running and nothing hurts on my body. Like just because when you've had a lot of injuries, like just being able to run and push your body is really awesome. It's an amazing feeling. So yeah, I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, we're all fortunate to be able to move and to keep going forward. And we're going to go into 2021, and it's going to be an exciting year. So I want to thank both of you, Chris Balestrini, Rachel Hanna of Team New Balance Canada. Check them out on Instagram. And we all wish everyone the best as they pursue their virtual race on Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon Race Weekend or anytime this month, partnered with the Canada Running Series and also partnered with Running Room and iRun Magazine. I'm Dave from New Balance, and thanks for watching.
Thanks.